Hey there, Russ here. Welcome back to the shop. Bungee cords. It's a love-hate relationship. After a while, it seems like, and when you least expect it, they lose their spring. I wouldn't call that much of a spring back on this thing. So, they're really pretty bad. Anyway, so I finally started looking around and decided I should be able to make my own out of common materials. So one of the first things that I've zeroed in on for doing that has been surgical tubing. Now this stuff actually is pretty good stuff. This is 1/4 inch surgical tubing. It's not very expensive out there to get, so it's not like it costs you a lot of money to make these things. But let me show you how I can turn this into several different styles of bungee cords that actually are pretty practical and work pretty well. So first one I made was I just made a straight bungee cord, just a spring, nothing in the middle of it, is just stretches and that's it. It has a lot of spring back to it, so there's a lot of tension here. You can wrap something depending on how much weight you're really trying to hold. I wouldn't depend on this 100%, but it's practical. But I found another way to use this and not have it break, and that is by adding a regular piece of rope. Now all I did on both of these is I wrapped it around. I stuck in the end of it a little piece of 1/4 inch dowel on the end of the tubing. When I wrapped it around, then I heat shrinked this onto it, the heat shrink tubing, and with that tube in there, you can get a better look at it here. You can see, if you look carefully, the hump of this tubing right here that's sticking out from the tube. But that tube is not moved, come out. At first I was having a problem with these things having creepies. And so I learned early on that you need to try to stop that stretching and moving. You see how tight these are on the end piece here? This one here is a little looser, but it's almost as tight as this one. Whereas if you look at this one, see the loop? Those used to have this size loop on them. But little by little, when you start to pull on them, little by little, that tubing will creep back through here. Now this end of it, the first part of the loop here, is okay, but on this part it just kind of creeps its way down, and I lost this loop pretty well. If you look at this red line, that line used to be right there when I first looped it, but it has slowly creeped out. So you got to watch for that when you make your clamps, or eventually they'll come apart. And the only way you can learn that is by doing it little by little. I found a couple other ways to keep it from creeping. But this one thing about this tubing, that tubing does creep when you put it under stress like that when it's wrapped. So anyway, my second version, well, first off, when I use this in conjunction, this is a 16 inch long tube. This is a 36 inch long piece of rope. If I take this and put it in that loop of there, and then I take and I put it in the loop here. Now when I stretch the rope out, I can only go so far, and so technically this is a bungee cord, and I can get a finite amount of pull on this before everything tensions up, but yet I get a pretty good retraction to hold it. If you want it to hold and not be quite so floppy, you can take this one and slowly wrap it around your other rope like so. And now I'm going to take this end and put it on the rope loop. Now I'm going to grab my two rope loops and it's not quite so floppy. So you can actually, so if I make up these with nothing else but the nylon tube and different lengths, I can put them on different lengths of rope to give me that capability of what a bungee cord can do. So, and you can put any kind of end on these things that you want. So, and I do use a lot of shrink tape for a lot of that stuff. When I make my loop, instead of taping it like I did this one, I actually have gone to heat shrink tape, heat shrink tubing. And I like that a lot better than this tape. Much more durable, not sticky like the other. And it's still easy to take that apart if I ever need to, than this stuff here. So, I think heat shrink tape, I found another use for that stuff. So, anyway, this is my first bungee cord. Then I thought, well, maybe we can make a little neater one. So then I made this one using paracord. You say, paracord, where's the paracord? Well, the paracord is actually inside the tube. So now it's all scrunched up in between here. I have my two loops. I have the rope inside of here, and it's wrapped around and comes out. Now that I noticed, now these tubes don't creepy on me anymore like they did with the first version. And you have a finite length. Again, if I pull, when the rope gets fully stretched out, you're there. This makes a pretty good bungee cord too. And I pretty much use carabiners instead of hooks. I kind of prefer them, but you can put any kind of end on this thing that you would want to. But this is actually not too bad, and it's easy to make. Now, I did take, the other way I made this was right here. And you can see I have, again, all bunched in. But on this one, I just tied a knot in the paracord, and I got the knot fixed up inside the tubing, and then I wrapped the string like you would a fly fishing hook. And I wrapped this thing with that stuff around the outside here. And I did it on both ends after I packed the cord in here. So the real trick is how do you get that cord packed in there? So let me show you real quick how that is done. So if I take, I'm going to need my little vise here. Okay, and let's take a piece, just a plain piece of paracord, and I put a knot in one end. Then I'm going to take my tubing and put it in on the opposite end, and I'm just going to feed that up through there until it comes out the other side. If this looks clumsy, it's because my thumbs are not working very well today. I'll tell you what, it had its toll on me putting that string on that thing there with the way my thumbs have been working. And now I can just take and pull that up on there just far enough that I can then clamp this down here without any problem. So what I'm going to do, because we're going to pack this now. How much do you pack? I generally think that whatever your pinch points are, whether it's not going to be, on the tubing, you want to double that. Is usually a pretty good rule of thumb. So if I go out here and bring it back, that's where I want to put the other knot. So I'm going to take this knot just for simplistic purposes, and I'm going to put it in there and clamp it down so that it stays. Now you can take your cord and let's turn this in. Let's pack this cord up into there. And all you'd have to do is I just grab this with my fingers, and I'm just, whoops, I let that get away, didn't I? Let's try that one more time. Okay. Now I pull it, and right here is where I think I'll put the knot then, with this pulled out. So now I'm going to take, and I'm going to put my second knot right here. Whoops. Now, we'll take this and we put it up into the tubing. Come on. There we go. And now we just let it go back while I pinch the cord here. Now all that cord is up in here. So now, once I clamp this side off, and now you have a cord that stretches out to here, because it's all packed up in here when it's relaxed. So that gives you, that's how you pack this thing. So then you clamp this in, you clamp that in before you pull it out again. Tie off these ends, and then you have a simple cord ready for stretching. So it's not hard to do it this way. I think, I haven't tried it yet, but I don't like the string, but it works very well. I think it's one of my better ways to put a piece in the center of the string instead of having to run the string through the whole length of the bungee like I did here. I can do it this way and have just cord. So now I can take this cord and make it 3 feet long. This is my stretching point somewhere along the line of it, but yet the paracord can be any length I want. So this works real well. You just have to, after you've packed the tubing, the cord into the tube, just tie them off semi-permanently and you should be good to go. I don't know that heat shrink tubing would be enough to hold that. Like I said, they make like a hog clip, but I think those are too big. So I was also looking at the crimping rings that they call, where it has the pliers and it just crushes that ring down to crush around whatever you're trying to seal. And I haven't tried them yet. The kit is about 20 bucks, I think, 20 to 30, which has a whole bunch of different size clamps in it. But I may try that. I haven't decided how well that'll work. But if you want to make bungee cords, that's all you have to do is figure out how to tie that off. So, latex tubing, it is first rate for being able to do all this. Now, I will also tell you that there is another way of doing this that's even quicker. I can make a bungee cord in 2 minutes, but not with the tubing. That latex tubing is pretty good, but I think there is another alternative that I finally figured out. And that is, let me take these knots out here. Got it. Okay. Now, the other thing you could use is silicone band and rubber bands. These are a pretty new product out there as opposed to what they used to make these rubber bands out. These are a little more expensive, but they're made out of silicone instead of latex. But if you want to use this, as long as you have a full intact rubber band that's circular like this, and these will stretch easily to double the length to give you some good spring back. But all you do is put it through there, decide where you want the loop, and just tie it off with a little granny knot. Leave yourself a little length to be able to tie off some kind of hook on it so you can turn it into a bungee cord. Now we're going to take, let me slide this up to the division. Whoop. There we go. Now we can take this other, and if I double my length again, and I can actually tie this off anywhere, but now let's tie this off right here. And now you have the makings of a bungee cord. Now you could take and wrap the cord around the rubber band and that sort of thing to make it less floppy. But basically, in less than 2 minutes, all I gotta do is put ends on this, and I have a quick and easy bungee cord that I can use. And these bands, they don't seem to ever go bad. Anyway, that's about it. I wanted to just kind of excuse me a second. That's part of my problem these days. If I talk too much, my throat gets dry and then I start coughing. So anyway, but that's a quick, easy way to make yourself a quick bungee cord or some kind of spring-loaded clamping thing. Like if you're trying to glue up something, you can make this up in 2 minutes, whatever length you want to make it. You can put 2 of them on the string if you have to have a super long one. You can use little shorter ones. They make them in different sizes. So you have pretty flexible, but that's basically how it would work. And honestly, it works pretty good. So anyway, you might want to look at this and see if you can come up with some ideas of how to do that. But that's the one thing I wanted to show you. I really like using the surgical tube for bigger ones, but for little short ones, I found the rubber bands have actually very good. And again, I can take this back apart when I'm done and put everything back where it belongs for the next time I need something. So if I'm only needing it for a one-time thing, I don't have to go out and buy a bungee cord. I can make my own to the exact length I need it to be. So anyway, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. This are my thoughts on this. I've been playing with this off and on for a couple of years and come up with these different ways of doing it. But if you have any thoughts about this, if you want to play with this and do this yourself, put your OTB hat on and then take and start doing some of the things I showed you, and you'll open up different ideas in your own head, and then you can share them back so that we can share them with everybody else to make this even better than what you've already seen. So let's see who out there can make their own bungee cords now, okay? And if you have any questions, let me know. I want to thank you for coming by. This has been fun. If you have any comments or anything, just leave them down below. I do read them all. But please, most importantly, come back again because I'm nowhere near done. Thanks. And we'll see you guys again very soon. Bye.